G'day folks, welcome to another little episode of mower deck repair. This has been a pretty interesting little project. Bit of work going into it, but hey, I've just been nibbling away at it after work, and we're up to the stage of putting pulleys and belts back in. The idler tensioner needs to be taken apart and rebuilt. The bearings in it feel okay, but I'll see if I've got any in stock. I think it's a size that I actually carry at the moment in bulk, so we'll see how that goes. Belt's satisfactory, it's not cracking or anything, so it'll last, it'll do. New PTO belts are on order, little short ones for the front of the mower, and everything else is pretty good. Underside's completely done. I've given the bosses the bearing bosses a good coat of black epoxy and a few other little key areas, just cause really. Yeah, so I've got to rebuild that. I'm just screwing these pulleys and everything back in, mainly because you can't get the belt in once this is screwed down, so I'm going to do that, blow a coat of paint over these, all the bolt heads and everything, just like I did the PTO box. Before I forgot that I hadn't put the belt on. You have to take all these brackets off and then slip the belt around it first, so I might blow another coat over those bolt heads, but that's no big deal. So yeah, I'll line all of this up and look at redoing the idler tensioner tonight. That's probably about as far as I'll get, but it's a start. It's doing pretty well. Apart from that, the work on screwing these down, some parts are broken off. So you go in there. When the belt's tensioned, it won't touch anything. I'm just going to put big penny washers over these key stress points. Should do it. A penny washer underneath and on top of this one, because there's a crack starting to form there. And this one here is a big penny washer there. This big one with an 8mm hole in the centre. They're really handy for things like this. The other guard's no better, if not worse. That top point's broken out, particularly because it's where people stand on the deck to get on. So again, big penny washer underneath and on top, and that'll help solve that problem. Big stainless ones. So they'll go back on. Yeah, not bad. There's enough paint on there to keep it happy for a while. I'm not going to go nuts and try and make it perfect. It's got rust pitting and flaking and other issues. I just want to get this thing back into service because the lawn is starting to get a little bit long again. At least it's not growing too crazy. But yeah, this thing will be a good runner once it's all done. The rest of the mower's fine, apart from the PTO front shaft. That needs new belts and possibly new bearings. Engine purrs along just nicely. It's had an oil and filter change. Everything else is just fine. I'm going to do a hydrostatic transmission oil change. It's all routine maintenance, pretty cheap and easy. Definitely well worth it for a nice big old machine like this. Well, it's not big, but it's still big enough for a small domestic backyard. If a little bit overkill, which is always better than underkill. Okay, well this idler has definitely been a little modification later on. You can see little stake marks on the adapter bush to try and keep it in place. The idler is probably torn off at one point, and they've welded this stud in. Nice little bit of work. And again, they've made a very tight fitting bush in these bearing races. The races are okay apart from a bit of impact damage. So I don't carry these in stock. They're a very standard unit, 6203. I have a ton of 6204s, which are the next size up, unfortunately. So I can't replace them. I'll have another look, but I'm pretty sure I don't have 6203s. I've got tons of 6204s, but they won't fit the housing. So yeah, I'll see what I can do. Shouldn't be too hard. I don't know, I might even be able to make a 6204 fit, but there's no real meeting this to machine out, so it's a bit difficult. So anyway, I'm going to clean these up, see if I can replace them. If not, I'll just re-grease them and use them for the time being. They haven't had water get into them because they're nicely rubber sealed. They're just a little bit lumpy from being tapped out with a hammer. Even then they were very stiff. This one was very stiff to begin with. Probably did have a bit of water in it. Yeah, they'll live for now. I'll just put some of those on order. I'll just write down the part numbers from my next bearing joint visit. I'm going to get some more bearings. Okay, so I've got the idler tensioner back together again properly. No new bearings, the old ones are satisfactory, at least for now, and it all works. It all came together pretty well. Everything works as it should. The belt's pretty good. The belt itself probably needs replacement in the next year or so. It's not splitting or damaged. That's clearly been rebuilt at one point. I think this probably isn't even an original pulley. If it is, it's been heavily modified. But yeah, it's very nice. This yoke is still on order. I do have one coming. I'm going to put some little plastic shims in here to stop it from chattering for the time being. It's not that far out that it's going to fly apart. I just don't want it chattering too much. Yeah, there's something horrible happened to it, which is usually people engaging the deck whilst it's completely raised, and this yoke is operating at an extreme angle. It's not particularly good for it. That's okay. The splines are a little bit worn, but that's not so good. And I could heat it up and squeeze it back together again, but the thing is then the material becomes very soft, or even potentially cracks. So I'm going to leave it as it is. Put a couple of little plastic shims behind those circlips, one on each side, and just leave it be until the new one arrives. Then I'll just quickly pop this out and replace it along with the universal joint that should come with it. I believe it comes with the uni joint. So yeah, that is that side. Anyway, I've got the main belt and everything on. We're almost ready. I just got to get the front wheels on. The temporary gauge wheels should work for the time being until I can get some 4-inch HDPE and machine some proper contoured ones. These are only temporary, though they do work. Yeah. You are there. That's right, that's for this side. So I'll get the metal shields back on. Everything's been pumped full of grease. We're pretty much ready to roll. It's got some more painting and cleaning to do. Wheels back on. Front PTO belts are on order. They'll be in middle of next week, and I should have the deck back in for next weekend and do a full run. We'll be ready to go. Because hey, I'm not going to do a quick little job on something that really needs a proper job done on it, and that's exactly what this is about. Don't half-ass it and do it cheap, do it properly. Do it properly the first time and it'll last another 10 years, 15 years. I don't think this deck's, apart from some running repairs like fixing this deck's never really been serviced in the 15-20 years it's been in service, so this thing will be good for another 20 years, I reckon. I won't be driving it and running it as hard as the previous owner did, so it could even do 30 years. I'll never have to rebuild it myself unless I do something silly like let it get flooded or leave it out in the rain too much, but I'm not going to be parking this out in the rain. This is going to be in a little hutch, secured area and undercover. Okay, there we go. This is what I was talking about with penny washers. These big ones here. These ones here I'm just doing one washer on top. These stand off since there's cracking around the localized screw hole area. There's one of these on top and underneath, so it just sandwiches the whole lot together. And each screw is Loctited, not never seized. So they're Loctited in. Got big penny washers supporting both of it. Cracks may progress. I can see one of the big cracks in this one here. This whole section's missing. It might progress later on, but it's not too hard to fabricate a new corner and TIG weld it in, or just make a whole new cover. So yeah, again, this is the kind of thing that'll probably break long after I've gotten rid of this machine. Mind you, I do intend on keeping it for a while. I'm just not going to work it as hard as it was designed to be worked. But yeah, this one here is probably the hardest since there's not much there. I'll just ground the edge off this big one, big M12 penny washer, and then I'll just clamp that down there. Might even put some Sikaflex under it. Bit of urethane sealant. Yeah. It's a very thin cover. It's just from people standing on it and a lot of vibration from the failed bearings. Most of this damage would have been from A, very rough terrain where this was used, and B, failed spindle bearings causing very excessive vibration. Oh, and these shields are also right where people like to step, so standing on them also cracks them. Yeah, not too bad. Everything should work quite reliably now. It's certainly a lot quieter. No grindy noises. I like that. You couldn't hear yourself think when this was running when I first got it. Horrible noises. Alright, we're almost ready to go. Tomorrow morning I'll drag it outside and actually fit it back up to the mower. There are a couple of links to attach here. The main suspension links or connecting whatever you call them will pin through here, and that's about it. I should actually drop them out and give them a coat of paint too, because everything else looks too nice to bolt back up to that mower. I'll give the chassis a bit of a scrub down and work out what fluid the PTO, not the PTO, the HST, hydrostatic transmission, uses, and change that out. And then we'll basically be done. Everything seems to be pretty right. And even these wheels have grease nipples on them. The more I pump grease into them, the more water and muck comes out, so I'll give it a quick run, pump some more grease in, just keep pushing just debris and water out of them. They seem to have a bronze bush inside them. I'm not going to try and dismantle it, but I'll just keep pumping fresh grease in. The gauge wheels, well, the deck is a bit twisted. I mean, there's almost a finger width under there. Definitely not under there, so given the damage and the amount of pounding it's taken just to get this gauge wheel down, I'm thinking I'll just machine my own custom ones out of polypropylene. That one's going to be fatter than that one. I'll just make them accordingly and replace them regularly. The front edge is fairly low, so needs definitely needs a bit of TLC. Definitely needs bigger gauge wheels on the front, but we're all ready to go. Very good. Oh, that's all for tonight, and thanks for watching.